The Gov's nomination for president in 1952 cost nothing. He entered no primaries. He was drafted by another convention of politicians after an inspiring, welcoming address. He started the campaign at the convention with no staff, no program, and no money. The National Democratic Committee raised enough for half-hour blocks of time on national television for eloquent and substantive speeches to cheering partisans. He took out 5-minute blocks of time for face-to-face talks with the American people. In that campaign, his 1956 campaign, and as titular leader of the party during the Eisenhower interregnum, he launched the strategic arms control race, arms control process, and as I think I mentioned, laid the programmatic foundation for the new frontier and the Great Society. The opposition did more than oppose. Arthur Schlesinger, Jr. called Kennedy the executor of the Stevenson Revolution. Eisenhower ran on a promise of change. Stevenson delivered the change. For him, democracy's function was to inform the people so they could make a sound judgment. What won was more important than who won. Trust the people with the truth, he said, all the truth. The center was broad and firm in those days and into mine. Even during Watergate and Vietnam, I can recall no parties except the United States Senate. In recalling our politics, a paradox emerges. The founders, one of them is present, were children of the Enlightenment, conditioned by centuries of dynastic and religious wars in Europe. Theirs was a first struggle. Madison said it was the fiercest of his life. But they built a wall in the Constitution. Reason would rule in man's temporal house, God in his spiritual house. They created a representative form of democracy with the limited franchise. One of the first acts of the Constitutional Convention in 1787 was to lock the doors and pledge the delegates to secrecy. We struggled, Americans struggled over the years to make our democracy more direct, more inclusive, and accountable. The franchise was rightly made universal. Senators would be elected directly. But in struggling to make democracy more inclusive and accountable, usually in the name of more democracy, we made it less so in respects. Even as issues were becoming more complex, and the challenges to our governance were mounting in a dynamic, interdependent, violent world where peace, in the words of Adlai II, had become a condition of human survival, and man was passenger on the fragile spaceship Earth. Money, tactics, and episodic visual media converged. I led many reform efforts starting in the Illinois legislature. And many were sound. We limited federal campaign contributions. I chaired a new Senate Ethics Committee charged with enforcing an elaborate code of ethics, financial disclosure. I was chairman of a special committee which reorganized the Senate for the first time since the early 19th century. Our committee jurisdictions were aligned to coincide with contemporary issues like energy and the environment. But some of our reforms had unexpected results. We opened our committee meetings to let in the sunshine. And we let in the lobbyists, the interest groups and the consultants. And they proliferated and multiplied to take advantage of the new access to the political process. The money poured in. K Street, home to the lawyers, lobbyists, and consultants in Washington, has never been busier than today. The insurance industry, medical profession, hospitals are carving up and fattening the healthcare pie. About half retiring members of Congress routinely remain in Washington to make money as lobbyists and consultants. That was unheard of in the Black Book. Earmarks didn't exist in the Black Book. Foreign governments didn't obtain lobbyists and public relations firms to influence American foreign policy. So there's always an exception. The old China lobby representing the nationalists was something of an exception. Democracy is fragile. Long before patriotism erupted on the lapels of politicians, the Gov said it was the tranquil, steady dedication of a lifetime. Democracy's road to autocracy and war is well-traveled. Alexander Hamilton warned of war fevers easily stirred in the human breast. Adolf Hitler came to power through the ballot box. It took a little more than a fictitious attack in the Bay of Tonkin, or a fictitious attack in Havana Harbor, or fictitious weapons of mass destruction in Iraq to excite the war fevers and the Congress. The two brave senators who voted against the Bay of Tonkin resolution were defeated for re-election. Rare is the Congressman Abraham Lincoln, who demands evidence of the casus belli. As the back book explains, wars are rarely won. They're no substitute for policy. That may be getting proved again in Afghanistan. Little is unforeseen in the Black Book. Predictions of spectacular acts of destruction and disruption, an international terror scene, accompanied introduction of the Comprehensive Terrorism Act of 1979, and a companion measure to prevent terrorism by distancing the United States from the settlements policy of the right-wing government of Israel, which was elected in '77. But, as the Black Book explained, war is easy. Making peace can be fatal to the peacemaker. An international Adlai Stevenson Center on Democracy has been organized at our old home in Libertyville. It aims to bring practitioners from the real world together with experts and scholars to address systemic challenges to democratic systems of government, help us regain our balance. We've had some good talks today here with Frank Beck and with others about the Democracy Project. Hope we can develop ways of cooperating. The Black Book is intended to recall the values of another politics and time, lessons from the past. It's intended to encourage others to follow on. I also met some young people today who look like they might follow on. Thank you.